Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about the next stage in the gerrymandering wars, namely the kind of race, sprint really, in both California and Texas to try to redraw or reconfigure each of their state maps to produce, in Texas's case, 5 new districts, each of which presumably would send a Republican to Washington, to the House of Representatives, and each of whom in California would send a Democrat, or so it would appear. Okay, the preamble here, right? The Democrats in Texas leave the state and hole up in Illinois in order to prevent the quorum that lets the state do business. So they were stuck. And then this went on for a few weeks. The special session that the governor had called expired. But then they came back, and they knew in coming back that it would give Texas Republicans enough time. Really, they could have done this in even later and later to redraw the map as they wanted to. But before coming back, they got some assurance that California was undertaking its own process done specifically to counter what Texas was doing. In other words, this whole situation is really unusual. States draw maps. They draw them, unfortunately, and disproportionately in red states, in crass political ways to just maximize the number of representatives of the party in control in the House. And that amplifies power in a way that has all kinds of implications. I mean, that's a big chunk of why we have been seeing all these things that Trump has been able to do because of his margin in the House in that respect. So 5 seats, that's really big. It shouldn't be this way. Really, in a good government world, all these lines would be drawn by independent commissions, and the courts would oversee them if they got too crazy. But the Supreme Court has said we're out of this business. Okay, so they have the ability to do it. And now in Texas, they're just racing in a new special section. Remember that we have this whole bizarre, nasty feature where they've required, say they required, I don't think they have any legal authority to do it. It's another matter that I've just actually got a piece in the New Republic, and it'll be in the Substack today. But they've supposedly required Democrats to stay in Texas or be arrested, and they are now racing through the map that they've already drawn. We knew that was going to happen, and it'll basically be a fait accompli by the end of Thursday, and then it will gallop along. But it'll be countered in California. Now, California has had to play real hurry up and get this all in place by last Friday, the 22nd, the day after Texas completed its own redrawn map. And that's just because you can't redraw something and have it go into effect in the next election, which is, of course, what everyone is focused on. But for the Democrats, you need both a 2/3 vote to pass, and voters have to approve the new map. That's how it works in California in a special election, which will take place November 4th. So the reason they had to play hurry up and pass this by last Friday, the 22nd, is there's just enough time, and by a whisker as it is, to prepare ballots and everything that needs to be done for the election in time for November 4th. But now, so you now have California and Texas both having galloped ahead, and in theory, having done counteracting moves where you have 5 more Dems in California, 5 more Rs in Texas. Now, that leaves the question of, do we still have a race to the bottom because other states are going to maybe try to do the same. And it's definitely each party is kind of looking at the different states in its ledger and think, can we squeeze out one more in Illinois? Can we? So we have the prospect now of real, not just bedlam, but just ugly kind of partisan politics where the maps of the whole country, I mean, as I said, it is typically a pretty ugly process, gerrymandering and redistricting, but it's at least been constrained that you only do it once every 10 years. That's, hasn't been a legal bedrock requirement, but just the way it's worked. And now with the all-important 2026 midterm elections coming and the real prospect that the Republicans, who I think are the more ruthless actors here, they more likely have states that go by raw politics rather than independent commissions, looking as if the map is, I wouldn't say the map is stacked against them, really the political forces are, because Trump's policies have been so unpopular. And it's typically the case anyway that the party out of power does well in a midterm election. So it looks like they're really, doing any kind of brass knuckle tactic to try to adjust the map, and they got to do it soon. So as of now, we got a 5-5 stalemate. Maybe that holds, and it's just one kind of ugly tit for tat. Or maybe we'll see even more of this stuff. But for now, to summarize, Texas flexes its muscles to do it. Dems leave town to prevent them. California gets into the act, and at that point, the Dems come back and say, okay, do your worst, knowing that California is countering. And sure enough, that's just how it all goes down, leaving the map of the country no more or less tilted than it already was. And we hold our breath at this point to see that it gets no worse. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.